Hi. Okay, so to start off with, we're going to learn to draw the skull. Now, I don't want to get into too much depth on the skull just because we're going for the human head. So we want the skin and, the facial features in it. But we do need to understand the structure of the skull. So what I've done here is I've just gone onto Google, done a Google image search for skull or human skull, and just grabbed an image, and we're just going to go over the structure. So I'm just going to see what we'll do is we'll use a red alright, so you can see here we primarily have two parts of the head. Okay, we have the upper part here, and then we have the jaw. Upper part here and the jaw. Okay, and these two parts move independently of each other. So just wait a second here, I've just got to close this line up. Alright, so this is what we're working with primarily, okay? And it's important to understand that these are separate parts for when we start to draw heads talking, because the jaw moves independently from the rest of the head, okay? But we'll get into that later. For now, we just want to look at the structure. So these are the shapes that we want to get, okay? So let's turn this back on. So I'm going to just take this down a bit so that we can see my lines a bit better. So what we have here, we can pretty much do this top section with a circle / oval shape. Like so, okay? Pretty simple. And then we can do the bottom section with the square shape, like so. Okay? So what the important thing here is to break the skull down into simple shapes that you can remember. So this would be a good way to go about doing it to start off with. Okay? So we have a circle, we have a square. Now, once we do that, what we want to do is we want to simplify it even more than that, okay? So let's use blue for this one. So let's take this side on head here. So I'm doing my circle oval shape. Then what I want to do is I want to continue this line down the front of the face and then make one line up like this. Okay, so you can see that's my head shape there. You can see here, let's just take this now. Which one is more accurate? Technically, I guess this the red one here is more accurate, but they both convey the same or very similar shape, which is what's important. And the simplest way of doing it is generally the best because it's going to save us the most time. So we want to get an efficient way of using our time to create a base shape for us to then add the details onto. So let's go up to the front one now. So let's do our circle here. Now what we could do with this one is we could do two curved lines like this. Okay, or if we wanted to, we could go about halfway, so we can do our square with, instead of having straight lines like this, we're curving it, which is what I do. It's what I normally do as well. So we're left with this shape here. Now we do have one problem with this, which is we need to divide this up. So once we have this basic structure here, we need to put a center line down the front of the skull. And this is so that when we turn the head, we are able to see the angle that it's on, which will make it a lot easier for us when we start to put all the details in. So let's get rid of this red one. Now obviously with the center line on this side on one, we won't be able to see the center line because it's at the front here. But when we take this basic shape, so when we take this shape and we start to turn it, so what I have to do is I have to so that's the bottom of the jaw there. That's this line here. And then it comes up into the back of the skull here. Now, what direction is this guy facing? We don't know. We need to draw the center line in here. Okay, pretty simple. Now the next line that we need to draw, and I'll just quickly, this guy's a bit skewy, so we'll just straighten him up a bit. So the next line that we want to put in is another line across the center, but across the front now like this. And what that does is generally the eyes are about halfway through the skull, okay? So this is going to allow us again to see where our skull is facing a lot easier and to place our eyes. So let's put our center line in here. Now, remembering that this is like a ball, okay, what's going to happen is as it comes across the front here, it's going to then curve. So if we were doing this like a box shape, and I'm just going to square this off a little bit for you to make it easier for you to see. And we're going to get into all these other lines in a minute, but for now, it's important that you realize that it wraps around the skull. So if I was to follow this through, that's what it would be like. Like that, okay? All right, so then we have, that's our basic layout for our form for the skull, okay? So that's what we want to keep in mind while we're drawing the head from different angles, okay? This will allow us to pretty much create whatever we can imagine. So I'm just going to move this guy up here. Now we're going to have to flesh this out a little bit more to make things easier for us. So let's work with a front on one, I guess. So, and again, you don't have to be too neat with this. So I'm just going to draw my center line in here first. Okay. So let's draw our eye line across here. Alright, so the next thing I want to do with the skull, you can see here, let's get rid of these guys. You can see this little flat spot here on the side, and this skull's not quite directly front on, so but you can see that's where the line would be there. So it kind of comes into the cheekbone like this. Okay, so from the front it looks more like a circle with the ends cut off. Okay, so let's get rid of this guy here. So this is what I'd want to be doing here. Make it a bit easier for you to see. Then we cut this off like that, and that's where, so that's where our cheekbones would be, like that, coming down, if we were going to finish this off as a skull. But we don't want to finish it off as a skull, so I'll just leave this one here like this for you guys to see. Now let's do this from the side. So I'll just make it easier. Let's do another layer. So we've got our head from the side here, and now remember, from the side it's more of an oval. Okay, you can do it as a, you know, more of a circle. You know, it does work both ways once you get an eye for what you're doing. So, in fact, let's do that. Okay. Okay. So we have our center line down the front. Have our eye line in here. Now, this little cutout bit here, that's what we want to work on now. So our cheekbone would be in here, and this is where you can see here, that's our cheekbone there, like that. How do we represent that quickly? With this little circle here. So what I'm going to do, halfway through this circle again, I'm going to draw that across the center there. So that would be pretty much telling us where our ear placement is. But we'll get into that in a minute. For now, we don't need to worry about that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this little circle in here. And that's our cutoff. Okay, just like this. And again, would be our little cheekbone in here. That's where our jaw would be, like that. So let's take this guy, put him up here, like so. Alright, moving along. Let's just quickly draw this guy on that 45 for you. Now remember, it wraps around, is our eye line, and it wraps around the head like that. And the same with that center line, wraps around the skull as well. So what I want to do here, put our little cutout in there like that. And this is essentially what we're doing for our head here. And again, let's check our cheekbones in here for us so that we can see what we're doing. And you can very much see how this is resembling that skull now, okay? Alright. So moving on now, this is how we would draw the head, to structure the head. Let's start doing some doodles of the head in different positions, just so you can see. It'll be a little bit simpler than this, but you'll get the point. So let's get rid of that skull. And I wouldn't necessarily always do all of these lines, okay? You'll develop a shorthand for it as you go, but to start off with. And ignore the neck for now. We'll get into that later. So obviously when we tilt our head, that eye line moves. So it wouldn't be accurate for me, say if this was my eye line here, it would not be accurate for me to put my jawline down the bottom here. So this will be my standard front on head. If I can get the proportions right here. And looking up, the eye line is going to move up like this. Still curving with that form. And because the eye line moves up, the jawline is going to move up as well. So what we have, understanding the way the jaw works, is we have a shape like this. And that's where it connects to the neck there. And this is one of the trickiest things I personally find to draw, getting this angle here right. I think you can see now how that's a nice quick shorthand for us to draw lots of different angles. So we're going to move on from here because I think you probably have the idea. And again, we're just looking for, like I said, just a shorthand structure so that we can then create our fully realized heads much faster. Okay, so we're going to move on from here and we're going to work on putting the different cues in we need in order to get our facial features in the correct positions and proportions. Okay.